there friends, welcome back to my channel. Happy Friday to everyone. If you're new around here, I hope you will consider hitting the subscribe button to join our crafty little family. I hope that everyone has had a really great week so far. I would like to tell you that we have as well, but we did get quite a lot of snow, and so shoveling is going to be a lot of our day. Yesterday and today and maybe a little bit tomorrow, but hopefully after that we will be on our way to springtime. And so that was a very nice inspiration to make some spring projects, and this is going to fulfill two requests. One, that we can make a banner that does not include the dies that I have used in my previous tutorials, and two, people have been reaching out to me looking for the St. Patrick's dollar download printable from my shop. So we have both of those covered today. If you are interested in creating this project with me, stick with me and we will make this together. So here is the St. Patrick's dollar download printable. I did make a couple of changes to this one from our previous dollar downloads, and that is because I really expect people to be creating more decor, decorations, more so than greeting cards, I think. So I wanted to isolate the focal image away from the background. That way, if you need to use multiple sets of the background to build your decor, you could have your focal image separate and then position it where it seems best. And that way you can layer them with spacers and not have them joined. So for the printable, I have a beautiful large pattern. This background pattern has a pretty check on it, and then layering piece is darker in the background, so it will be very visible as a layering element. It has shamrocks. I've got a pretty postcard here with some green text on it. Of course, our little cherub guy, a tag. Here's a nice sentiment strip. This is really nice for layering in and adding dimension. And then there's also a second strip here as a border. This has a lighter background with shamrocks again, so there's quite a lot of variations to this. So you can make the cards as we have shown in our previous dollar downloads, but this could be more useful as decor. So for the background, I'm going to use one sheet of 12 by 12 110-pound cardstock, and I've cut my piece into 6 equal portions of 4 by 6. You're going to need all of these pieces for the banner because you want to do a double layer of this thick, sturdy cardstock to add all of the elements on top of. So the request from the peeps was that I could create measurements or some type of way to make that banner shape so that the friends who did not have a die cut machine or that specific banner shape that I had used in the past, we could still create this banner. So if you take a nice ruler, I have a T-square, which I find very helpful. I went ahead and measured in 1.25 inches from each side, and then I drew a line to connect them, and then I used my T-square again to find the center. So now we have 2 inches because our panel is 4 by 6, and put another point there, and then I connected the outside point to our center point and just drew a simple pencil line. So you're only going to need to do that once, and you can go ahead and cut out that portion. Don't worry about the pencil lines on this because you can flip this over and hide the pencil in between the layers. So I've done that for this one. Also, I've added some double-sided adhesive tape, and I'll just come in with the next uncut layer and join them together. There's no worry that these are going to come apart because you're going to punch holes and run some trim through. So this will be nice and sturdy, but you just want to come in with some good sturdy scissors and clip out the portion that would be the fishtail, and you're going to get that iconic banner shape. So just take your time and cut that a little bit more carefully so that you get a good straight edge on that. So you're going to have 3 of these, and then once you have all of your inside layers done, you can finish the back with some coordinating pattern paper. I thought this was a really good opportunity to pull some more paper out of my stash. I thought this went well with the printable. It had that nice tone, the shade of green, and it did have a little bit of pattern to it as well. This isn't necessary, but it just does give it a very nice finished look on the back, as well as add an additional layer for sturdiness. So here is my banner shape. This one's finished on the back, and I'm just going to begin adding all of my paper layers. So here is the largest piece. This will be good for covering the whole background of your card or your pattern. And so I'm just laying this in here along the straight edges, and then I can come back in and trim just as I did with the center portion. I'm just going to cut right along that edge and then come back in and remove the portion that would be the fishtail. If you are confident with a craft knife and you have a nice mat to cut on, you could definitely do this with a straight edge and a craft knife. So you're going to get that beautiful green check pattern on the front. Now what I want to do is bring in my layering pattern now. So I clipped mine out and I used my guillotine cutter to get a height of 1 3/4 inches, just because I wanted to have enough of that showing on top but leaving enough room for my additional layers. So I'm just going to go ahead and add that right to the top and then clip off the excess. We know it fits perfectly. And then one more layer for the base piece is going to be that shamrock strip. And I'll just go ahead and add that right where those 2 pattern papers come together. And that will also help to cover up the cut edge. And remember to flip it over and remove the excess. It would have been ideal for me to bring down my Teflon scissors, but I didn't think of that. But anyway, okay, once you get your background on, you want to bring in a template so that you can cut the holes the same width in and down from the top, and then do that for all 3 panels. So what I did was I took a 4-inch wide piece of scrap 110-pound cardstock to my scoreboard, and I scored in an equal amount on the top and the side. Now I know when I put it on top of my banner portion and line up those edges, I can get a good straight and even punch here. And then I flip it over. I'll do the same thing for the other side. You definitely want a crocodile for this cut because you are going through quite a lot of thickness. So here is the holes cut, and I have prepared the other sides of my banner for this. So if you wanted to continue with that and not add a lot of trimming, you could definitely just string this up and then put your focal images on. But I like to add all of the fixins, so I'm going to go ahead and finish it in our own kind of poly style. What I want to do first is wind a bit of this beautiful green kiwi satin ribbon. This comes from Really Reasonable Ribbon, and this beautiful color matches my St. Patrick's Day theme perfectly. I'm going to go over and under just so that I can disguise most of that trim behind the panel. So just a little bit of it will show in between, and you just kind of want to curl that up and work it through. As you're going along, make sure that you're not getting too twisted in the back so that you can manage that extra part in the back easier. So just go ahead and pull off a very generous amount. You will want to have a lot on the side so that you can tie it or mount it on a mantle. So you do want to have a generous length enough to stretch a wide distance. And I'll just go ahead and finish threading this on. So I've got all of these panels attached with my beautiful trim, and I'm gonna leave, I'd say maybe 18 inches of the trim on either side so that you'll be able to add it to wherever you are decorating. So in previous tutorials, I have added some tags between these panels, and I really wanted to keep this project down to 3 sets of printing of the printable. So I am going to just go ahead and finish the tops of these bows without adding an additional tag. So I have 4 beautiful bows here that I have topped with some loopy twine bows and a vintage button. I'm going to add these now. It's easier than waiting for all of the dimensional bits to be added, and I also want to make sure that I'm leaving just the right amount of room on the front of the panel for our layering bits. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull this a little bit closer, and I'll add these with a little bit of hot glue. For the center ones, I'm just going to go ahead and add it right to that ribbon. Okay, so now I've got all of my trims on. I can go ahead and finish the front of my panels. So what I wanted to do is have a focal image in the center and then have the remaining background pieces as layering elements for some pretty florals. So I'll start with that center piece. First thing I want to add in is a pretty doily. This just kind of helps to neutralize that background. And then I'll top it with our postcard image, and what I want to do is keep the words on the postcard to the left, and that will give me room for our little cherub on the right hand side, and I'm just layering that right on there. I put some 110-pound cardstock on the back of this printable and then put some foam tabs, so we're building some dimension here. And here is our cherub. So I cut this one out, leaving a small border of the white from the printable on it so that it would look like an ephemera piece. And I want to position that so that it's kind of filling up the right-hand side of our postcard. This is on some 110-pound cardstock and spacers as well. So that's more dimension for our center panel. And then here is the sentiment strip, and I'm just going to add that with double-sided adhesive, and I'm tucking it just underneath that postcard so that it will hide that cut edge. So the reason I have all of our layering elements positioned to the right is so that I can bring in my flower arrangement, and most of it will fall right where I want it so that it is supported by that sturdy background. So this is a combination of mulberry flowers and some flowers that were made by me. Of course, I got out my poinsettia die to make these pretty lighter green shaded smaller flowers, and I used those with die cut foliage, some gold netting, and more loopy twine bows for my focal flower. This is just my mulberry magnolia. I came in with this and pulled the top layer off, as I do, to reduce a little bit of the bulk. You can use this top layer for another project, so you get a little bit more use out of your ready-made flowers. So I'm just pulling that off, and then I switched out the stamens for the gold ones, which are also available from Reasonable Ribbon, and that just helped it to coordinate a little bit better because, you know, all of the Irish want a pot of gold, and so I thought that worked really well with the theme. So for the center panel, I'm definitely filling in this bottom corner and helping to balance out the cherub. I want to position that, like I said, with most of it being right on the top of the banner portion. So now that we have our focal image in, you want to balance that with some details for the other two panels. So I just clipped out the remaining elements from the printable. We've got our tag here, and positioning that a little bit higher than the shamrock strip. And I've got a slightly smaller die cut doily for this side, and I'm just going to position that so the tag will show. And then here comes our postcard, and again I put that up on the spacer so that we can continue to build dimension. This is a nice size because it almost fills the entire width of that panel, and it leaves us a nice area that's neutral enough for a flower arrangement. So this is a similar style as the original one. I just built it with a little bit more of an angle so that I could fill in this side of the postcard. And then just for fun, I also die cut some very small little glittery green shamrocks. I'll put the shamrock in first. And now you can see how nice it is not to have the focal image anchored to that background, so we can have a little bit more versatility in how we use it. So we're going to do the same thing for this side, but I'll just position that tag a little bit over to the right since this is on the right hand side. Same doily. This was the Recollections doily die, and I picked mine up from Amazon. I'm not sure if it's still available, but I do find it quite nice for smaller areas where you don't want to cover up as much of the background. Here is the other postcard. Remember, we printed that printable 3 times to get the quantity of paper and elements for this. Here's our shamrock. I'll just position that flower arrangement so that I know exactly where I want that shamrock to land. And then here is our final floral arrangement for this side. I'm going to go ahead and cut the right hand side of my trim now at an angle so that my ribbon won't fray. I need to do that cut for the left hand side as well. That got kind of ravelly when I drew it through the panels. And then I think a nice finishing detail would be a little bit of stickles, and I'm just using the diamond stickle so that it isn't adding color, it's just adding detail where it seems like a little extra sparkle would be nice. So let's put it on the wings, the little heart in the hat, maybe on the shamrock, and then where the fabric creases on this wrap that he's using for his clothes. And then I think that's good. So you don't really want to overdo stickles because it gets a little bit crazy. Okay, that is all for our banner today. We created this with the St. Patrick's dollar download printable from the shop. I'll link that in the description if you want to check that out. And remember that all of these dollar download printables are very versatile. You can make lots of cards, and if you want inspiration for that, you can check out the previous dollar download videos. They're all going to work well with each other. So here is my inspiration for my St. Patrick's Day banner. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you leave me a comment and a big thumbs up. You can find links for all of our social media sites in the description. If you're not already, I would love for you to subscribe. And as always, I'm wishing you a happy and productive day, and I thank you so much for watching. Bye.